Hey friends, this is Wendy with Love and Stampin'. Thanks for being here with me today. Today we're going to be using some Honey Bee Stamps products, Happy Hearts Gingerbread Village paper packs. And you're probably thinking, how do these paper packs work together? Well, you'll see as we go through the card. But then we're also using some new products from their release, the hamster, the layering hamster, and the layering hamster cage. Now, Honey Bee provides awesome layering guides for you, so you can follow the layering guides to put your projects together. It's a very step-by-step, it's very simple. I have to say that I think in looking at these, they can come across as intimidating at first, but really, once you just sit down and start die cutting all the parts and pieces, everything comes together so easy, and you'll see that in this video. So here's what the dies actually look like. The cage is actually pretty large. So if you wanted the cage to fit on an A2 size card, you would really have to cut the cage and not add all the tubing coming out the top. I, however, want to add all the tubing coming out the top. So I've pre-die cut everything. I used dark and light pinks. I used gray for the cage, and I just kept this really simple. The only coloring I'm going to do is on the hamsters, but everything else is pretty much colored for me by die cutting from colored cardstock. So here is some of that Happy Hearts pattern paper. I'm cutting it at 4.5 by 5 3/4, and I have cut a white piece of cardstock at 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and that's going to layer onto the front of my 6x6 card. I used a dark piece of pink cardstock that was cut at 6 by 12 inches. I scored it at 6 inches to make a square 6x6 card. Something to note is that a 6x6 card requires more postage. So if you are going to make larger cards like this and they are square, they will not go through the regular mailing process and you will have to use extra postage. So basically, I'm going to jump back and forth between story time today and making the card. If you have no desire to hear story time from me, you can go over to the Honey Bee Stamps page, and their video I have recorded for them without lengthy story time. But this card is going to a specific person and deserves a funny story being told with it. So here I'm going to use my Honey Bee Stamps glue. I actually ended up liking this glue better for this project because recently I changed out my glue bottle in my what is the thing called? Glue press. And in the glue press, the nozzle is wider, so I'm not getting as fine of a line, and it's fine for most things, but for this, I really wanted the finer tip, and the Honey Bee glue has it. I also really like these glues that are really thin, small tubes like this. They're just kind of easy to handle and convenient. Great for traveling or just, you know, having sitting on your desk. So here I am going to just layer all the parts and pieces together, and I am using that layering guide. It's off to the right hand side. You just can't see it, but trust that I am using it to put this together. I put this little shelf on the 4th row down on the cage rows, and that is shown in the layering guide. So if you can follow a visual instruction, you can totally put these together. And what I like to do is sit and die cut everything at once and then assemble. For the tubing and the little ball and the water bottle for the cage, those are cut out of a pink vellum from Pear Blossom Press. Pear Blossom Press has a nice 48 sheet pack that's cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 of vellum, and I use it so much on so many projects. The link for all of the products I used today is below this video. It's under supply list. You can just click where it says supply list, and it'll bring you up a visual supply list of all of the products if you're interested in getting any of these. Okay, so let's talk story time. Why am I making a hamster card? Now, when I first saw this set, I had a good chuckle with myself because I knew exactly who I was going to be making a card for and sending it to. My cousin Shannon lives in Montana, and you guys know, if you've been around here long enough, you've heard me talk about her many times. Her family just came to visit at Christmas, and they were here for 2 full weeks, and it was wonderful. And we spent Christmas together and had just the best holiday ever. It was one of my favorite Christmases ever, and I just had an amazing time. So I'm really close to my cousin Shannon. We're more like sisters. We grew up in the same house, and our moms are sisters, and our moms really relied on each other a lot when we were young for support, because both of our moms were single moms. So we often lived together so that they could make ends meet, and it was also helpful just to have extra adults in the house. So growing up that way made my cousin and I really close. Also, my Aunt Linda was my aunt that was kind of, for a good part of my life. I had 2 aunts that I was really close to at different times in my life and for different reasons. So my Aunt Linda, I was close to kind of more like when I was teeny tiny little, and then again in my teenage years. And then in between that, I was really close to my Aunt Lori. Those are stories for another day. But basically, my Aunt Linda is like the fun aunt. Like, she lets you make the mess. She takes you to do all the fun, crazy things. And my cousin Shannon is her daughter. So when I was 20, I moved back into the house with them because, well, that's another story for another day too. But basically, I was 20 years old and I needed a place to live, so I came back home. And that was to my Aunt Linda's house, which that house was on my grandparents' property. So I pretty much, since I could have an animal in my life, have had one. Either dog, cats, hamsters, horses. I think, did I ever have a rabbit? Yes, I had a rabbit. I've had fair animals that I sold. I mean, my life has always included some sort of furry friend. So when I was in my very early 20s, about 20 years old, I was living with my aunt, and I had a hamster. And it had a cage just like this one, actually, except it was, I think, blue. If you want to see the blue cage, stick around to the end, because I actually have I made 2 of these cards. And my aunt allowed me, she was very kind and allowed me to have animals. So I had a hamster, had it in the cage, and I would put it in a little ball and let it run around and put it back in the cage. Anyways, this little hamster was kind of a light beige color, and its name was Lucifer, because Lucifer liked to bite. It was not a friendly hamster. And so one day I happened to notice that Lucifer was no longer in his cage. And I chose at that time to not share that information with anybody. Let's jump back to the card really quick. So here I thought about having one of the hamsters running up the tube, but then I was afraid you wouldn't be able to see it very well. If I make one of these cards again, I think that I might put one in the tube, but I'll maybe use clear vellum instead of like a colored vellum. In this case, I wanted the color vellum because I wanted it to match my cage. So Lucifer was missing, and I made the choice to not share that with anybody in the household because I knew they would be, let's just say, livid. So we'll use that word. So I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody, and I'm just going to hope Lucifer shows back up. So I would leave his cage open, and I would put little treats and stuff in hopes that he would show back up. So he was probably missing for well over a week. And one night I'm fast asleep in my bed, and my room was next door to my cousin Shannon's. And all of a sudden, my cousin bursts into my room about 1 a.m. and punches me in the arm vigorously. It was a forceful punch. And I'm not going to share all the expletives that came out of her mouth in letting me know that my hamster was in her bed. So it had ran up her leg and was sitting on the pillow next to her head, And we're at the perfect timing of this video because she describes how it was sitting with its hands up doing the little sound that they make and like doing its little fingers, just like this hamster is doing right here in this that I'm coloring right now. So she describes how this hamster is, you know, sitting on her bed, and she is freaking out and yelling at me and cussing and telling me, go get the you know what and bleep hamster out of her bed. So I can't just catch Lucifer because Lucifer is mean. And so I got a like Tupperware thing and put it over the top of him and then slid something under it and got him back in his cage. And my cousin went back to bed. She was absolutely livid. To this day, she will tell the story, and it riles her up. It makes her angry even now. And that was 24 years ago. So, she has never let me live that one down and likes to remind me about the hamster getting out. So when I saw this set, I was like, well, I have to make this card for my cousin and I have to send it to her. And on this particular card, I chose to leave this little hamster outside of the cage because I know immediately she will find that humorous. It's like one of those things that's funny now was not funny at the time. And well, at least to her, I thought it was hysterical because hamsters don't freak me out. Rats don't freak me out. I love all animals pretty much. I even at one point in my life owned snakes with an ex, which was a little different, but, I don't know. I've always been a huge animal lover. So this little Lucifer friend is outside of the cage. I probably should have made his eye red because Lucifer had the red eyes. It was gross. And then on the inside, I'm going to cut a piece of cardstock at 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 to layer inside this card. And then I'm going to add the little hamster ball. And if you've never seen a hamster run around in one of these balls, it's the cutest thing ever. I highly 10 out of 10 recommend that you Google a video or YouTube a video watching a hamster run around in one of these balls. They're really cute. I don't recommend doing that unsupervised because they can like fall downstairs and get hurt. But so this is my finished card except for our sentiment. And I am going to use the anyone can be cool, awesome takes practice sentiment. My cousin is pretty awesome and she's a good person. And her and I have always been close. So I thought this was just a really fun, I miss you, I love you kind of card to send her that will give her a little bit of a chuckle. So anyway, this one's got to go in the mail soon. Speaking of mail, as I said, you cannot just ship this normal. I did link to 6x6 envelopes on Amazon. So if you are interested in purchasing some of those envelopes, you can. And that's what I'm going to be mailing these in. I'm going to use my Honey Bee tweezers here to get this sentiment in place. I put foam tape on the back to pop it up. And this card is finished. And then here is the blue card I made. So this card, the blue card has both hamsters inside. The pink card has the one escaped hamster. And that is the finished cards. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. If you have any questions for me, feel free to drop them below. Again, don't forget to shop the supply list link below the video. It's available there too. And click either one of the images you see here to watch another video from me. Click the circle with my face in it to subscribe. And I will catch you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.